It's a strange stage because I'm in the middle of it and the images are at the side of it. So I'm going to want you to look that way most of the time, because I'll be showing some images that kind of capture all sorts of things. I suppose the starting point really for me is 6 weeks ago I wasn't, well in fact this is the start of my 7th week, so I'm kind of new. But on the other hand I'm kind of old, A, in years, and B, because I've been involved in Globe not quite since the beginning. There are others who've been involved far longer than me. My first foray into Globe was in 1997 when I went to a strange little town, well it seemed to be a strange little town, called Somerset in Kentucky, to be trained in Globe and find out what Globe was all about, prior to setting up Globe in the UK, because we had to find out how it worked in the United States, and the only way I could get trained was to come to the United States. So it's my pleasure to come to Kentucky, get trained in Globe, and realise what a fabulous program it was. It's just for the UK market we needed to change it a bit, and so we did. And kind of the surprise to me really is that I'm here now, because 6 weeks is a short period of time to be in a role, in a new job, but we've made some progress, mainly because there's been a willingness to change. There's been a willingness to go from where we were to where we are, and I can probably illustrate that best with this slide. So, hands up if you recognise these are geese. Have you seen geese? Can you show me whether you've seen geese flying like that? Okay, I hoped it was a symbol that worked around the world. And I have to say, I have stolen this symbol from Gary Randolph at the back, because Gary had already come up with this analogy for Globe. Globe is a flock of geese. Now, you might not see the analogy, but the interesting thing about these geese is that they're all going in the same direction, they're all going together, they all know where they're going, and they all know when they've got there. They're individual geese. They could be flying in different directions, but they've chosen to go together for a common purpose, for a common end point. And in a way, kind of, we're like that. Or at least we should be like that. We should be individual state partners, individual countries, and the Globe Programme Office, all going in the same direction to the same point. And part of the problem over the last few years has been, it hasn't been quite like that. And so instead of being this organised, focused direction, we've been a little bit kind of all over the place. Some big, some small, some going this way, some going that way. I've only slightly photoshopped the photograph. Some taking off, some landing, and it hasn't been coordinated. And so it's kind of a nice visual analogy for where we might have been, and also where we might want to go. And what I want to be doing this week, which is different from what we originally planned this week, is spending some time looking at how we can get there. How can we collectively decide where we want to go to make sure we all know where we're going? Because unlike geese that have this innate capacity, nobody gives them a training course in where to go, they just know where to go. We have to write down on a piece of paper where we want to go so that we can actually get there. Left to our own devices, we'd be all over the place. So, I thought I'd just talk about a few things that have happened over the last 6 weeks, one of which is a letter that I wrote. And again, I want a quick show of hands. How many of you have actually seen this letter? Oh, excellent. That's good. It was sent to all partners, and because of our slightly antiquated website, we couldn't attach it to an email, so we had to say on the email, please go to the website to find it. And it was part of how I want to improve communications between GPO and the rest of the world, the partners and the countries in Globe, simply by putting a letter out once a month that says what's been happening. We'll still keep on, as we have been doing, the Globe News, so the Globe News, which will still be coming out once a month, celebrating the successes of you around the world. This is more to do with how we're organising ourselves around the world. And I wanted to take the opportunity of this, not to go through the whole thing in detail. I need to put my glasses on at some point. May need to read what's here. But the very last part of it, I mentioned the fact that we are no longer as big as we were. We've had 6 people that have left us over the last 2 months. And I just wanted to acknowledge their help and endeavour over the time that we're here. And I'll read their names so I don't forget anybody. But Daniel Berger, Russ Gonsalves and Jason Roth left from the IT team. And from the Science and Education team, Mike O'Toole, Marcus Hoffman, and Sheila Ewell have all left us since over the last 2 months. And I'd like to acknowledge the help and support they've given over time. One of them is here now, and I'd like you all to acknowledge their help by giving them a round of applause for the work they've done. And while we're acknowledging things, I'd also like to acknowledge the Globe Programme Office staff, because the last 6 weeks have been a bit strange for them, being American people, and having a person from England coming into their office and talking to them. First of all, they've been very good at understanding me. I've been pleased to know that our common language works, mostly. There have been a few words that I didn't understand, and a few words they didn't understand. But by and large, we've communicated well, and there's been a fabulous spirit of wanting change and wanting to move forwards. So I'd like to acknowledge, and I would like you to acknowledge, the Globe Programme Office staff as a whole for the huge change they're going through and the support they're giving me in making that change happen. The second thing we've done has been a relatively rapid production of our annual review for 2010, which you've got in your packs. And I just wanted to spend a little time telling you why we've done this. Any programme like Globe makes progress over time, and it's important to chart that progress. It's important also, I believe, to have a document that each of us can use to go and take to our supporters and our partners to say, look, this is what Globe is doing, please give us some more money, or please give us some more support, or please join our programme. It becomes a document that we can use to sell ourselves, really. And up until now, we haven't had one. So I decided that we should have one, and lo and behold, we have got one. I'd like to acknowledge in producing it, it's a lady called Mo Murray at the Globe office is not here. She's a graphic designer who did the graphic design of it. And the stories have come from you, because we just went to the Globe Stars that are already on the website, thanks to the international team in Texas. We just decided to take whatever stories we could find that told the story. And I just want to say what we wanted to try and tell. Firstly, about Globe is kids and teachers doing science. That's what it's about. And I wanted to reflect that in this document. And I wanted to reflect the international nature of it by selecting photographs that came from the various regions of the world and the various protocol activities of the world doing Globe. Wherever you are in the world, doing Globe means the same thing, whether it's doing water, whether it's doing clouds, whether it's doing atmosphere or soils. And we have got lots of pictures, thanks to all of you, of kids doing Globe and teachers helping them to do Globe. And so celebrating that was one of the things that I wanted to do in this document. The other thing was to celebrate the regions of the world and the huge international coverage that we have, which we've seen just a minute ago with all of the hands going up and all of the applause for the different regions and the different countries that are here. And what we tried to do on each page was to have a little snapshot of that region, some bullet points about how big and what was happening in Globe, a little bit about the regional office and what the region had been doing, which is where the GIAC people are focused. And then we just selected, not quite at random, but to tell a story, we selected spotlight stories. And so for each page there is a country that has got a project that we've spotlighted on that annual review. And as I said to the GIAC yesterday, we did this quite fast, so I didn't have time to ask anybody. Next year, I want to have each of these regional pages written by or contributed from the region. So you as a region decide where you want your spotlight to be, and we can make the annual review 2011 into a wholly owned document where you all know what's going to be in it because you're contributing to it. And it becomes that celebration of our international success that we undoubtedly achieve. In the middle there's the World Water Day focus, which allows us to look around the world at all the Globe schools. It doesn't show very well on the slide, but in the printed version, all the yellow dots on that world map are Globe schools, and all the blue dots are schools that were getting involved in World Water Day. And again, it just celebrates the international nature of what we do. The other thing the document does is what Teresa and Donna have just done, which is celebrate our sponsors. Because without our sponsors, we wouldn't be here. UCAR is the University Corporation for Atmospheric Research, where where Globe is based in Boulder, and University of Tyler in Texas is where the international team is based. NASA gives us most of our money, and We've already thanked NASA, but we'll see a lot more of NASA during the course of this week. NOAA gives us some money and gives us a lot of support in kind. The National Science Foundation supports all of the science around GLOBE, and particularly in our partners in the United States. And the State Department supports a variety of international activities in different parts, with different embassies supporting different things around the world. And it's that combination that summarizes the funding coming into GLOBE in the United States. But GLOBE wouldn't be GLOBE without 111 countries around the world, and it's 111 countries that make GLOBE work. That's why GLOBE is different from everything else. And at the bottom of that page, we put some of, not all of, the sponsors internationally that support GLOBE around the world, to say thank you to them too, because it is that combined effort that all of your local sponsors bring, as well as the US sponsors, that make GLOBE work. And again, for next year, I would like you to know that I'm going to be asking you, who are your sponsors, so I can make sure we've got plenty of different logos on there from the different supporters around the world. So, let's get back to the geese, or Gary's geese as I call them. How do we make ourselves go in the same direction? Well, one kind of way, one simple way really, is to decide where we want to go collectively. And a document that does that, or one name for a document that does that, is called a development strategy. And in your packs you'll find a draft of a development strategy that says, where do we want to be by 2017? 2017 is quite a long way away. None of our funding goes to 2017. It's not around funding. It's about where do we want GLOBE to be. And that answer can only come from all of us in this room and the GLOBE partners who are not in this room to come together and come to agree a document that says this is where we want GLOBE to be. And it may be we want to have 2 million teachers, it may be we want 1 million teachers, 500,000 teachers, I don't know. We need to decide, how many teachers do we want? How ambitious do we want to be? How much science do we want? Do we want to have new projects coming out every week? Or do we want to have projects? How do we want to organize it? There are a whole host of questions. And what we've tried to do in this document, which is a draft document, is that over, I think, 5 staff meetings, we've been developing this whole idea of GLOBE and how we can make it work better. And we'll be talking more about that tomorrow morning. So if you've not had a chance to look at the document yet, if you're able to look at it sometime between now and tomorrow morning, at least you'll be familiar with what's in it. And you'll see some of the issues and challenges that we have in agreeing where we want to go. Just briefly, I thought it was handy to touch on what is GLOBE. The GLOBE program is made of 3 separate components. And in the bottom right-hand diagram, bottom right-hand circle of this diagram, I'm not quite sure whether I should call them circles, because they're not, but I don't know if there's a nice little word for a kind of splodgy, dotty, ovally thing. But in the bottom right-hand corner is the GLOBE Program Office. There's one of them. In the bottom left-hand corner are the GLOBE regions of the world, and there are 6 of them. So there's 6 regional offices and 6 GIAC members. And at the top circle, there are the international and US partners, and there's 111 international partners, and there's 40-something US partners, so there's 150 partners in that top box. And so, together, we've got to agree how we work together, how we communicate better together, and, as I said, where we all go to. We've also shouldn't forget in this argument, in this model, that these are the people who are organising GLOBE. These are not the people doing GLOBE. Because critically, this diagram doesn't show the GLOBE teachers. It doesn't show the GLOBE students. It doesn't show the GLOBE scientists and those other supporters that we have around the world. And these guys at the bottom are the people actually doing GLOBE. These are the people who are making GLOBE happen in the school around the world. And I'm calling them, for the sake of this diagram, the GLOBE community, the wider community of GLOBE that we who are organising GLOBE are supporting. So, we've also spent some time in the office figuring out what does GLOBE do. Now, it's kind of self-evident once you've been doing GLOBE for a number of years that GLOBE does what it does. But what does it actually mean? And we've come up with 3 words that summarise what GLOBE does. One of which is education, because it's educating kids, it's educating students, it's taking students on a journey to find out for themselves, this inquiry-based, or inquiry, as you pronounce it, based learning. It's also about science. And it's about students doing science and scientists talking to students. It's about that science and education interface. But it's also about international partnerships, because there are many projects around the world now that do any two of these. There are projects that do education and science, there are projects that do science internationally. There's only one project that does all three. And so the unique focus of GLOBE is that it does all three of these elements. And in order to do it, it has a number of supporting activities. Most importantly, on the bottom left-hand side, the yellow circle on the left, is IT and a website. And I'll be talking more about a website in a minute. We've had issues with the website for a large number of years, but fortunately they are reaching a resolution, which is a positive one. We've got communications in the middle, because we need to communicate with each other to let each other know what's going on. And we obviously need funds around the world. We're always needing funds, so fundraising is critical to what we do. And then if we're going to manage ourselves properly, underneath everything, we need to have management systems so that we all know how we're managing ourselves, and we can measure how we're going. So all of these kind of nuts and bolts is part of how GLOBE works. And up until now, we've never really kind of got down to writing that down. So the point of this document is a kind of starting guide to GLOBE. How does GLOBE work? And the bit that isn't filled in yet is where do we go to? So the challenge for tomorrow is deciding, or starting to decide, where do we want to go with GLOBE? I put up here a slide of the GLOBE programme as it is in governance terms, and there's copies of this. You don't need to bother writing it down. You may have to struggle to read some of it as well. But I just want to explain how GLOBE is governed so that you all know. In the top right of the diagram is the GIAC, the GLOBE International Advisory Committee, and that's where all national and international GLOBE country coordinators and GLOBE partners have representatives at that management level. And GIAC's role is to steer the GLOBE programme across the world. In the top left-hand corner, you have all the US funders of GLOBE, and so the GLOBE Programme Office Board is made up of NASA, NOAA, National Science Foundation representatives, together with someone from UCAR, who is the organisation where GLOBE is hosted. My line manager, my boss, is in the middle, is Jack Fallows, who many of you know from his being an acting... Oh, suddenly my eyes have gone funny. My eyes on that side have gone funny, anyway. Acting director of GLOBE, and so he's now my boss. And I just wanted to highlight the bits below, if you like, the GLOBE Programme Office team as to how we work. You've met already on the left-hand side the science and education lead is Donna Charlevoix, and many of you internationally will obviously know the international team is led by Teresa Kennedy. Below them, on this diagram, not physically, is our IT team, and Ying Hong has been the acting director, so acting manager of that program. Ying is at the back of the room there, and Ying will be around tomorrow to tell you what we've been doing in technology terms. The communications team hasn't been a communications team, it still isn't yet formed as a communications team. And on the right-hand side, we've got the management support, the administrative support, which is Katie Lackey, and also the evaluation that Valerie Williams provides. And then we've also got on the same diagram our regional offices, because our regional offices at the bottom are in those 6 parts of the world. And the reason I wanted to talk you through this is twofold. One is to give you on a single sheet of paper how GLOBE works, so that you all know and we're all aware of where we are. And the second thing is you will see in the bottom 2 left-hand boxes, when it says IT or technology and it says communications, it says vacant. We have 2 new posts that are advertised as of this week. One is for a new manager for the technology team, because Ying has been acting in that role and may not want to stay on in that role, so we're advertising for a new post. And the new post of communications manager is a brand new post. Both of them are on our website. If you want to apply, if you know anybody that might want to apply, please point them at the website, because clearly we want to have the best people we can find to do these key roles going forward. And it's helping to reshape our team in terms of how we work together, because communications has been Jan Hydra, who the camera in the middle, and it's been managed by a bit of Teresa and a bit of Donna and a bit of everybody, and having a focus on communications will allow us to not just do it better to ourselves, but to take our message to the rest of the world, because the rest of the world if you go to the average school in the average country and ask them about Globe, probably the answer is what? Because probably they don't know about Globe. Once they know, it's fabulous. But we haven't been very good at getting our message out to the rest of the world so that all the teachers of the world know that Globe exists. So, one other thing that's coming up is in your packet, but I wanted to tell you about too, is the Globe Learning Expeditions, because Globe Learning Expeditions are a fabulous way for students and scientists and us to all get together. And the first one of them was held in Helsinki, Finland. I went for a day of it, as I just joined the Globe program in 1998. There was then one held in Arkansas, which I didn't go to, but Šibenik in Croatia I certainly did in 2003. I wasn't able to go to Cape Town in 2008, but there is another one in 2013. And where is it going to be? We don't know. It's up to you. And if any of you, as regions or as countries, would like to offer to run a GLE in 2013, there is information in your packet, there is information on the website, and we will be looking for anyone that wants to pitch for and offer to run the GLE. We will obviously work with whoever it is that gets the winning nomination, but at this stage there are no nominations, so we have no idea where we're going to be. So I hope somebody somewhere, or some region somewhere, actually wants to do that. And the other thing, just in passing, is that in the back of the conference document you'll see next year's annual meeting is going to be a virtual meeting. We've looked at our budgets for next year and we can't afford to run a conference of this sort on this scale in 2012. So we're looking at a virtual meeting, unless if there is a country that thinks that they could run or help run an annual meeting in 2012, please come and see me, because we have some money to put to something, we just don't have anything on this scale. And if there was a part of the world that wanted to run the annual meeting in 2012, although it's very late notice, if there was somebody that was interested, we could still do something. Otherwise, we'll be a virtual meeting in 2012. So, let's get back to the birds for a moment. It's a very nice slide, and when we make all these publications public and share them on the web, I have to confess that I've stolen this image from somebody on Google Images. So if anybody in the room has got a better picture of a flock of geese that they're likely to want to donate to the program, that will save me breaching everybody's copyright by putting out this photograph. I thought I'd just spend a little bit of time talking about not the last 6 weeks, but the next few days. And the next few days, here we are, and what are we doing? We've changed the program a little to fit in with the needs to engage everyone in this new direction of where we go. And I just wanted to run through briefly what's happening every day. So Monday is today, and I've called it learning, insofar as, for the most part today, it's you being talked to and you getting information from people about what's happening. Dr. Waleed Abdalati is going to be talking to us soon from as a NASA Chief Scientist. We've then got the regional projects where we're learning from each region what's happening around the world. We've got a live broadcast from California, a place called the Channel Islands. And Channel Islands confused me as an English person, because the Channel Islands, as far as I'm concerned, are some little islands off the coast of France. But these are different ones. We then have community presentations, which so that's the Oceans for Life live broadcast. And the community presentations give you a choice of where you go. There are some education programs, some science ones, and some to do with how we organise partnerships. So you have a choice of where you go for that session. And then last thing at night, you've got the posters. And the posters that you can see down that side of the hall are today's posters. There will be different posters going up. We're kind of short of poster space, and we've got lots of posters to be looking at. So please look at the posters this evening, and a separate set of posters that will be there tomorrow. Tuesday is about engaging, and Tuesday you'll be much more active. You'll be doing stuff. Because having come around the world, you haven't come around the world just to listen, you've come around the world to get engaged. At least you may not have realised it, but that's what's going to happen tomorrow. And what we'll be doing there is spending a bit of time looking at these geese, looking at how we can get the development strategy to work. You'll also be seeing the new website. I mentioned this new website that's coming along. Again, thanks to additional funding from NASA, we have a new website that will be going live, the first part of it in November, the second bit of it next year. And you will be hearing tomorrow about how that's happening. There's a contractor called Raytheon who's doing that for NASA and for us. And you'll also hear from Ying as to what we're having to do at the Globe office to get our database to work. And the story there is kind of, I guess if you've been doing Globe a long time, you'll know this, but different protocols have been invented over time. They've all been added to the database by different people at different times. And now we've got to try and make this database work in a new setting. And it's quite a challenge, because the people who wrote different bits of it are not here, and things are written down, or that should be written down, aren't written down. So our IT team is having to kind of go back into the database to understand how it works, to glue it back together again, before it can work on this new site. And so that's what Ying and his team, one of the things that Ying and his team is doing at the moment. And that was not said in computer speak, you understand, that was kind of English, as I call it. And then we have the second bit of the afternoon, where we can find out more, and more to do with how you can participate in the Student Climate Research Campaign. You'll be aware that there are 3 elements to it. There's the foundation part of it, which is understanding about the difference between climate and weather. There's the intensive observing periods, where people around the world can do things all at the same time. And there are various research activities where you can carry out research into climate change, or students can, and share those data internationally. And you'll be hearing about how that works tomorrow afternoon, and what we want to know from you is how you in your countries and your regions, how you want to participate, so that we can best coordinate that effort. Which brings us to Wednesday. Wednesday is a day of options, and it's a day of an experiment, really, because we've never done a day like this before. It's an experiment because here we are in Washington, D.C., and in Washington, D.C. is the US government, and the Senate and Congress and all that kind of stuff. And so the US partners are actually going to see some of their senators to lobby them, if that's the right word to use, on why Globe needs more money, and how Globe is a vital program, and how Globe can get more support. And we've taken the opportunity, with a huge amount of work from others, to actually talk to all the embassies for all the international teams to see whether we can get embassy visits. And there are some embassy visits and ambassadors that are coming to us for the reception on Thursday, but equally there are visits that are planned, and about half the international team has got visits planned for that Wednesday to your embassies. And for my sins, I'm going to the British Embassy, which will be an interesting experience for me, because I've clearly never been there before. And it's part of looking at how we can bridge that government support part around the world. So it's an experimental day. We've never done it before, and it's only because we're in Washington, D.C. we're able to do that. And what we have, for those that aren't going on these tours to embassies, and even for those that are, if you're going out in the morning, we've got things in the afternoon. If you're going out in the afternoon, we've got things to see in the morning. And the main thing is a movie. So, sorry, that was the Washington thing, and I just put a website at the bottom of there. If you need to go to your embassy, or to go to wherever you're going in Washington, you'll need to get there. And we're not paying or sorting out any transportation, because it's way too complicated with so many people going in different places. There is a website there, which is from the, whatever it is, Washington Metro Area Transit Authority, is that what I'm guessing? WMATA, and if you go to that site, you can log in where you are, and it'll tell you how to get to wherever you want to get to, and what metro to catch, and where to get off, and it'll tell you what buses to catch. So if you need to get detailed instructions, that website is useful. The film, which I'll talk a bit more in a minute, is called, sorry, I just lost my glasses. Earth, the Operator's Manual. And the Earth, the Operator's Manual, Jeff Haynes Stiles, who actually wrote it and produced it, is going to be here. So I would urge you, if you haven't seen it yet, it's already shown on PBS in the United States, but it hasn't shown around the world. Go see it either in the morning or the afternoon. And then, whatever you're doing, make sure you come back for 3:30, because at 3:30 there is a lady called Ann Davison, who was called Ann Hardison, who was involved in Globe in the 1990s. I haven't met her for over a decade. She was the communications expert within Globe in those early days. She's gone on into a career in communications generally, and she's going to be talking to us about new media and social media and how we can use them in Glow. So whatever you're doing, try and get back for 3:30 to listen to Anne, because A, she's a Glow person from a long time ago, and B, she knows an awful lot about social media, which is where the new media needs to be headed. And so this is just a quick summary of Earth, the Operator's Manual, and the film itself explores why the Earth needs things doing to it and what we can do to help it. So it's a positive view of how we get on with the Earth, but it's also focusing on climate change, focusing on the science behind it, as well as what we can do about it. And there's 2 showings of that, either at 10 o'clock or at 2 o'clock. Thursday is more of a traditional Globe day, and I call it Discovery because it's a day when you go out in the field. And it's likely to be hot. People tell me it might be sticky, it might even be rainy, but that's kind of what happens in Washington, DC. And you've got 2 things to do on the day, and you'll do both of them. That is, the first is NASA Goddard Space Center at Goddard, curiously, and Patuxent, which is a nature area, and you'll go to one of them first, and you'll do some Globe activities, and you'll go to another of them second, and you'll swap over. So you'll get to do both. It doesn't really matter what order you do them because you'll do everything. So you'll be out in the field for a fair bit of the day, and although it's not far away physically, Washington traffic being such as it is, we need to start early, and you'll see it says 7 o'clock, depart for Goddard and Patuxent, so you need to be up early. What you'll be doing when you're there is looking at different Globe protocol activities, seeing how Globe works, and you'll be having the pleasure of having video people around. We're videoing lots of this conference, not to put live streaming video on the web or anything like that, but so that we have some clips of Globe being done that we can use on our new website. So out at Goddard and Patuxent, we've got another video crew from NASA who will be joining us, and what I would urge you to do is smile when people want you to, carry on doing Globe if people want you to. What we want to get is film clips of people internationally doing Globe around the world, and clearly as the world has come here, we can film the world all in Patuxent and all at Goddard. And also what we want to do is film clips of people saying why they do Globe. So I've asked the crews to, from time to time, go around and ask people, why do you do Globe? Why do your teachers do Globe? What do your students get out of Globe? So that we have some nice clips of people that we can again use on our new website. So I'm hoping that by talking to them, you'll give me permissions to use your clips on the website, and we will then be using whichever clips we choose later on to put into our new website to give it that dynamic feel of people really doing Globe, talking to camera, and having video. And the last thing of the day is a banquet. That is a picture of Buckingham Palace, and we won't be quite at Buckingham Palace, but we will be having a banquet. And the only issue, I'm afraid, is that NASA Administrator Charles Bolden won't be with us. There's something to do with a shuttle landing at the same time, which he has to be at. We're hoping to have an assistant administrator from NASA, but that is not confirmed as of now. And then we'll have a group photograph of all of us, and at some point the banquet will end. So that's Thursday. And then, having gone away from the conference, Friday we come back to it again, because Friday we learn about the ESSPs, these projects that started 4 years ago to provide alternative things to do with Globe. And there are 4 of them, and I'll talk a bit more about them in a moment. At the end, at 3 o'clock, I want to then bring together all of the answers we've gained during the week, particularly the views on where we want to go with Globe. So here come the geese again. So that we can figure, well, what did we agree and where are we going? And I also want to look at what are the next steps so that we can agree what we're going to do from now to the end of the year and in 2012 and beyond. So that is Friday when it all kind of comes together and it all wraps itself up. Briefly, to mention the ESSPs, there are 4, of which you know. The Seasons and Biomes project, which is primarily around Earth science, but it's also to do with phenology, and it's to do with a whole host of inquiry-based learning activities. And Seasons and Biomes is one that can be used in many parts of the world. The seasonality, the phenology bit obviously varies depending on where you are in the world. A Carbon cycle project. Carbon is critical, clearly, in the whole CO2 issue, and it is part of understanding how carbon is measured. And part of what the project is about involves computer models, but part of it involves growing plants. Very simple things you can do in classrooms. The watershed dynamics. Watersheds are critical around the world, particularly in the United States at the moment. Flooding is a huge issue. When we came in over Nebraska only a few days ago, there were whole farms that are still flooded. So watershed issues are critical, and understanding how watersheds work is critical. And the Watershed Dynamics project allows you to look at GIS in a different way and integrate that into GLOBE. And then the last is Flexi, which is learning from extreme environments. And you'll remember, from those of you that have seen this before, it's to do with extremes under the ocean, as well as extremes on land, and ways you can excite students about the environment through those processes. So, that's given you a quick run through the week, and that's given you a quick run through where we're going to. This is what I'm aiming to get to, with all of our globes flying in the same direction, so we all know where we're going and we know how we're going to get there. In changing the programme, I'm afraid some people have had their slots moved around a little from where we first planned it, so my apologies for that. But I hope what we've finished up with is a more integrated programme and a more exciting programme about where we collectively are going into the future. And so I hope it's a GLOBE annual meeting a bit different from every other one, because you will be participating, and we do need your answers as to where that future is going to be. And so, having given you a quick taste of my first 6 weeks, and having given you a quick preview of the next 5 days, I'm going to give you an extra surprise, which is a coffee break that lasts rather longer than you thought. So thank you very much.